Now, good morning to you. Welcome into the programme. Dave McCarthy, how are you today?
I'm very well, Keith.
What did you do last week? Vodafone.
Yes.
Flipping phone lines went absolutely cracked.
I just want to clarify a few things.
Please do.
Yes.
We're not a centre for Vodafone.
You have been inundated with calls about the Vodafone documentation went out last week, and my office has been inundated with calls. And it just shows you how many people actually own Vodafone shares. They reckon it's about 400,000 in this country at the moment. And I just want to clarify two things very quickly. First of all, there's a lot of confusion over how to complete the documentation, and I mentioned it last week, but I'm not going to go through it again. But I am going to ask people, if they want to, we've done a fact sheet, which is a step-by-step guide of how to complete the documentation for your circumstances. If you contact our office at 566-022 and ask Michelle to send you out in my office, send you out the fact sheet, we'll email it to you, and all the information you need is on that.
Okay, I don't want to harbour too long on it, but I mean, a lot of the people who called here felt that it was like winning the lottery again. How much am I going to get and all of that? I mean, if they've got a small shareholding, are they going to make anything?
Oh, they are, but again, I won't get into detail, but it's not winning the lottery because you're getting back your own money. And the next point I'm going to just mention about
they had it written off, I think.
Is that the revenue came out with a guidance earlier in the week, because there is options where you can opt for what they call an income payment, or I don't want to get into technicalities because everything's in the fact sheet, or a capital payment. And basically the revenue said, if you opt for the capital payment, that doesn't means you don't have to pay capital gains tax because, and this proves the point about people thinking they won the lotto, but through this, you are sitting on losses since the Aircom launch, which is why people have this Vodafone shares. So the reality of it is you shouldn't have any capital gains tax liability on this. But anyway, contact us, we'll send you out the fact sheet, everything's in that. Now, moving on. In the budget, Keith, there was, you may recollect, the government made a lot out of announcing that they were bringing in new tax relief scheme for home renovation costs, right?
Yeah.
And this is the first time we've seen tax relief coming in on something like this for as long as I can remember. I can't remember when the last one was there. But since Christmas, the technical side of it in terms of how the scheme's going to work has been released by the Revenue. And to be perfectly honest with you, I actually think this scheme could be totally unworkable. And I just go through very quickly how it operates. Essentially, if you spend between 5,000 and 30,000 on your house, you can claim back relief on that at 13.5% that you've paid. Okay, so it's not anything you paid 23.5% or 23% on in terms of materials you can't claim back. It's only anything costs you incurred, which incurred VAT at 13.5%. You claim it back over 2 years. And so if you have a number of contractors that come in, you have to end up asking them, and this is where it really gets tricky, you have to ask them for tax compliance information on them. Right? VAT registration. So, for example...
So you become the tax collector on behalf of the government?
No, you don't become the tax collector. It gets worse than that. You have a painter that comes in and you're going to pay 6,000-7,000 on your house, and he's charging you at 13.5%. You can claim that back. But before he does the work, you have to get evidence from him that he's tax compliant. That's the first thing. Then he does the work, you pay him, he has to submit the claim for you. You do not submit the claim yourself to the Revenue. It's the contractor that does the work has to submit the claim for the relief. 2 chances of that happening? Absolutely 2 chances. Yeah. And you know how difficult it is very often to get, with all due respect to people in the building industry, get them to fill out any sort of paperwork, not to mind having to go through a complex procedure to claim it back. The government was hoping and intending that this was going to bring people in from the black economy, but I'll be honest with you, I think this is, a smokescreen in terms of the way the scheme is going to operate. And again, I'll just stress that whoever came up with these procedures, it's idiotic, and I think it's unworkable.
I mean, the only one I saw showing any initiative in relation to this home improvement scheme is the credit unions, where they're advertising, including here. If you want to avail of this scheme, in that the first step, they'll help you, and financially they'll help you as well. So it's really and truly it is, but it's claiming back the relief is where the big problem is. I mean, to actually rely on I expect a contractor, somebody doing work for you to claim it back is crazy. No disrespect to painters, by the way, that you picked on. Very quickly, can you talk to me very quickly, because we have a minute and a half, the change to the personal insolvency procedures? Why are they changing them, somebody wants to, after only 3 months?
Look, the reality of it is this documentation, or this legislation, when it came in, the Personal Insolvency Bill, took so long to draft and is so complex that I think everybody in the financial industry kind of had a gasp when it came in and thought that a lot of the procedures that were involved were unworkable and that changes were going to be necessary at some stage. Now we're 3 months into it and they've already indicated that they are going to have to make changes. They're not going to make changes to the legislation, but they are going to make changes as to how the personal insolvency procedures will operate. For example, the costs involved seem to be extraordinary, and they're going to bring in changes to reduce that. There is a British model which they should have based their procedures on originally, and they're now going to do it in the changes that they're making. So we'll see how this works in practice, but the reality of it is it should never have happened in the first place.
All right, if you do want to get further details, you can give Dave a call on
566022 for the Vodafone fact sheet.
566022.
And primarily we'll send it out to you by email, please.
All right, thank you, Dave McCarthy, and from Dave McCarthy and Associates, for joining us this morning.